Good morning, everybody. It really does help when you have the microphone turned on. Whoo, it's going to be one of those days, one of those Sundays. And what I mean by that is one of those amazing, magnificent, always unfolding into good and better good, that kind of Sunday. That is what I am claiming right now for me, for everyone within the sound of my voice, for everyone who participates with CSLDallas in any way today. And I invite you to take on that affirmation with me. So, just in case this is your first time being with us on Sunday morning, every Sunday morning we take about 45 minutes and we dive into the Science of Mind textbook and read just a little bit of it and talk about it. So as I'm reading, my invitation to you is that you will think about, oh, what does that mean to me? Oh, how has that applied in my life? Or, oh, what the heck is she talking about? Like, she's got to explain that to me a little bit more. So we'll read a little bit and then we'll stop for your comments, your questions, the way it applies in your life. And before we know it, it'll be the top of the hour and we'll be saying goodbye for this week. Today we are starting a new chapter, chapter 11. It is titled Mental and Spiritual Treatment. And I am excited to dive into this chapter today because it also is the theme during our celebration service a little bit later this morning. I'm loving the sequence. So if you've been with us for a while, you know that 2 chapters ago it was the power of thought. And Ernest Holmes really grounded us in what does it mean? Like, we are Centers for Spiritual Living, or CSLDallas. We are part of the New Thought movement. And what does that mean? So 2 chapters ago, Ernest Holmes spent the entire time focused on the power of thought and helping us really get clear about what that means. And since that is the basis of prayer, the chapter we just finished was, before that was prayer. And then the chapter we just finished was faith. So from thinking to praying to demonstrating faith and acquiring and building faith, we are now ready to use all of that. And one of the ways we use all of those together is by utilizing a specific form of prayer and action called mental or spiritual treatment. So at the beginning of any new chapter, I always like to give you a little preview of what to expect based on the subheadings within the chapter. So on page 163, you can see that what Ernest Holmes talks about in this chapter, treatment, what it is, the purpose of treatment, the way of treatment, treatment not explained in the Bible, what is a practitioner, the first requisite, a practitioner's business, different methods of treatment, when and what is a demonstration, and let us not fool ourselves. So this chapter, will be in this chapter for a number of weeks. But it's great to have that overview because you can see Ernest Holmes not only tells us what a treatment is, but then how we as people who practice science of mind can actually use treatment and what are some different methods of that. Okay, so 4 minutes of overview because we are starting a new chapter. But now it's time to dive in. Page 163, the first subheading, treatment, what it is. Excuse me. Effective mental treatment is propelled by a consciousness of love and a realization that the creative spirit is always at work. The practitioner does not feel that they must compel the force to work. It is the nature of the creative power to take form, and it is the nature of humanity to use it. A treatment should be given in a calm, expectant manner and with a deep inner conviction of its reality, without any fear and without any sense that the human mind must make it effective. The work is effective because the law is always in operation. Repeating. Effective mental treatment is propelled by a consciousness of love and a realization that the creative spirit is always at work. The practitioner does not feel like they must compel the force to work. It's the nature of the creative power to take form, and it is the nature of humanity to use it. A treatment should be given in a calm, expectant manner and with a deep inner conviction of its reality, without any fear or any sense that the human mind must make it effective. The work is effective because the law is always in operation. So let's talk about these two paragraphs, this opening subsection. On one level, Ernest Holmes doesn't answer the question, what is treatment? On another level, he doesn't in these two paragraphs. And part of that is because he talked really a lot about treatment in prayer. And so, 2 chapters ago. So now, as he's opening this section on mental and spiritual treatment, he's just reminding us that we are giving a treatment for a condition that we want to change. The same way when Tracy gets home from roller skating and her muscles are aching and she's like, I need a treatment for these sore muscles, and she goes and she takes 2 Advil, right? So I take 2 Advil as a treatment when my muscles are sore, or when sometimes I'll take 2 Advil before I skate in preparation to have an ache-free skating experience, because the Advil will be working while I'm warming up and then skating. So we don't only do treatment, right, to quote unquote, to fix. We don't do treatment to fix anything, but we don't do it only after there's a circumstance that we want to change in a negative way. We can also use treatment to establish the environment for what we're having to go well, or to create what we want to create. So effective mental treatment, as Ernest Holmes starts again on page 163, in case you just joined us, effective mental treatment is propelled by a consciousness of love and a realization that spirit is always at work. It's not created from a consciousness of fear. It is not created from a consciousness of anger, or really from a consciousness of anything that's out of alignment with God. It's created. Treatment comes from this place of, I know the truth about universal spiritual principle and law, and I am going to use that. I am going to set that in my thoughts as the truth of how my life or how life can be, because that's the way it was created. So treatment, effective treatment, is propelled by, is energized by, is grounded in a consciousness of love, number one, and number two, a realization that spirit is always at work. Never takes a vacation, never picks and chooses. It is always at work, and it is always at work for me, for you, for every, not just every person that it created, but every form of life it has created. Spirit is always at work with the weather. Spirit is always at work with the mountain. Spirit is always at work with the forsythia bush that is outside of my door. Spirit is always at work, and my treatment is coming from a consciousness of capital L, absolute love. Take it in. Next paragraph. A treatment should be given in a calm, expectant manner and with a deep inner conviction. Now, if you know me at all from CSL and Science of Mind or Unity, if you know me at all, you know that I'm laughing when it's like a treatment should be given in a calm, expectant manner. I prefer what Ernest Holmes refers to in another part of the textbook as cheerful expectancy, right? Cheerful expectancy. I expect this to work. I expect what I am claiming in this treatment will manifest. It is already manifest in the mind of God, and it will manifest in the physical form. I know this. And so I expect this. But here, when it says a calm, expectant manner, I always kind of giggle inside and definitely smile outside, because calm in this use is like the opposite of anxious, right? But when I read it, calm, expectant manner, I think, sometimes a treatment can't be calm, because I got to say what I got to say, and I got to believe it. And so, right, my energy goes up. So I'm really glad that the next words are with a deep inner conviction of its reality. Because in order to demonstrate conviction, sometimes that means your voice is louder, or it means that you stand up and you stomp your foot in the ground to demand and claim, and this is really what I'm convicted of. And there's a different energy. So now, having read this, hundreds of times, I realize that calm in the first part is not about quiet and gentle. It's the opposite of anxious, meaning we can't do treatment from a place of anxiety or fear or despair or unforgiveness. Like, that's not calm energy. That anxiety will get in the way between what you say you want and what you do want. So we're going to finish up this paragraph, and then we're going to go to your questions, your comments, and how that's worked for you or where it doesn't make sense. So be thinking about that, because in the next 2 minutes, we're going to be coming to you. So a treatment should be given, second paragraph on page 163, a treatment should be given in a calm, expectant manner and with a deep inner conviction of its reality, without any fear, without any sense that I have to make it happen. The work is effective because the law, the spiritual law, is always in operation. So, mental and spiritual treatment, we're on page 163. We're beginning chapter 11, And we will be here for, at least a month, maybe more, because it goes all the way to page 176, and there is so much good stuff here. So let's start talking about it. What comments do you have? What questions do you have? Get them ready online and in the room. Ryan, how can people participate?
Well, thank you, and good morning, Dr. Tracy Brown, and everybody. I hope you brought your camping utensils, because we're going to be here for a whole month going through this chapter.
At least.
But it's going to be a juicy conversation along the way, and we love to hear from you here in the audience. If you want to just go ahead and raise your hand, which I see we have a couple people here, we will let you guys pass the microphone to one another, and then you can ask your question or say your comment. And for the folks joining us on Zoom, we are so glad to have you guys here. And if you'd like to participate, go ahead and hit the raise your hand icon located down below, and we'll bring you into the room as well. And it's so good to see all the wonderful people all over the world on Facebook Live. Make sure to drop in where you're watching us from and put your questions and comments. And I always like to mention that I keep the comments anonymous. That way we can continue to have a safe container for spiritual growth. So let's start here in the room. Tina, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm Tina. And I'm thinking about fear. So if I'm already in fear, my house is burning or somebody's about to run into me, I don't pray? I don't do a treatment? I think I do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, but these two paragraphs sound like you only do treatment with love and calm, but the human being is not always calm.
I love this comment. I love this comment, and here is why. So I'll use your example, right? So the house is burning down, or, there's some emergency. And the moment you shift to treatment, you are shifting out of fear, because you are claiming this too is going to work out. You have shifted from the fear and the anxiety if you are doing the treatment, and you are moving into that conviction of what is in these two paragraphs. Now, that is, what we do when we're really trained, and that is what we do when we're really practiced. And it may be that 10 minutes later, I'm in fear again, because now I'm looking at the condition. But while I'm in treatment, I'm coming from this clarity that Spirit is always working, and it is always working for me. And if I'm doing my treatment correctly, I am claiming what I want, not what I don't want. And so that is some skill that comes when you actually have been doing treatment for a while. However, there are times, even knowing this, that I realize I can't do treatment for myself, that I am not in that place of clarity, and I am not doing the treatment. What Ernest Holmes says here is for it to be effective. Right? I may be going through the motions. I may be saying the words. I may be repeating on a mantra what I know, what I've learned over time. But if I don't feel the shift, then I know that, I'm going through the motion, which is good. It's that act as if, right? It is, I know to go to prayer. It's better than not going to treatment at all. But if I'm not feeling the shift, then I'm picking up my phone and I'm texting Cindy Young saying, hey, you're a practitioner, please do treatment for this, for my peace of mind, or for God as Spirit as my source, right? Because I'm not getting there on my own. And it is because I'm not fully in this state that he describes. So that's why we ask other people to do treatment for us, and that's why we don't have to beat ourselves up if it doesn't seem to be working or I'm not believing, because belief and faith, faith was the previous chapter we just ended. So if all of those pieces aren't fitting together, no harm, no foul to have someone else do treatment for us. Could you pass the mic back one and then we'll go online?
Just a follow-up question to that. If I'm receiving this treatment and I'm not in that place, does it have the same effect?
If I'm receiving treatment and I'm not in this calm and right. So treatment always works. The universe always says yes. And if I'm doing a treatment for you, Joe, and you are resisting it, you are not believing it's even possible or that it's possible for me to believe, that will be a barrier in the manifestation. But if I'm treating for you, I am doing that based on what you have asked for. So there is a deepest desire within you for that. So, it's then there's no process. The universe immediately says yes. So the process is done in the spiritual. But the human energy and elements catching up to that sometimes require a process just because of the way we live in a physical universe. So you can block a treatment, but usually if it's a treatment you're asking for, there's something there in you that you really want that. And it's just a matter of time before the physical manifestation of it, unless there's something else going on.
Okay, I'm Brenda. I have a question. And when I read this, I think about the duality, the paradox of the perfection of every moment versus the eternal becoming of everything and all that. So when I read all this, the word treatment never sits with me well because it sounds like Scientology or something or some kind of different way. So my question is there, it makes me assume that there is something wrong with the present because I have to treat it. So is there a different word I could use in my head that would make sense more in that, situation? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. So when we use the word treatment, we are referring to a specific process. So if we are talking about actually doing a treatment, writing a treatment, speaking a treatment, we are talking about a specific 5-step process. So if we're talking about that process and using it, then treatment is the word to use and to heal any woundedness that we have around that. So I'm not going to let you or anyone totally off the hook from the word, because when we start substituting other words, we leave the word we're uncomfortable with all the negative power. Right? Well, if I just don't have to use that word, then when I do hear it, I'm still going to have the negative charge because I've decided it's a negative word and I don't like it. And so every time I hear it. So I encourage everyone to actually hold yourself, hold myself, hold ourselves to using the word treatment when we are talking about the specific science of mind process. But if we're talking about treatment in generality, treatment is a form of affirmative prayer. Okay, so there are hundreds of ways to pray. There are many, many, many kinds of prayers. A benediction is a kind of prayer. An invocation is a kind of prayer. Right? There are many kinds of prayers. And we recognize that the process of spiritual mind treatment is affirming the good outcome that we want. And so it's an affirmative form of prayer. But it's not okay to just substitute affirmative prayer. So if you ask someone and you just say, will you do a prayer for me? They could do any kind of prayer. But if you want a treatment that has been proven to work in a certain way, then you actually do want to request or be grounded in treatment. One more comment, and then we'll be looking for somebody online to jump in. The other piece about treatment for you makes you think that something is wrong and that we're treating it. So for those of us who've been in studying science of mind a long time, like when I think of treatment, I just think of a treatment being a treatment to get what I want. So when I want more money in my life, even though I'm not having financial problems, but I want more money because I want an extra $15,000 this year so I can travel to Asia, right? There's nothing wrong. I want more of what I already have. I want more good. I want more energy. I want more friends. I want more of what I have. I'm going to do a treatment to treat my life for this condition that I am desiring, which is more good. That's a treatment too. So I love that question, Brenda, because we are programmed and socialized to believe that something has to be wrong for us to do anything about it. That's how we're socialized, right? You don't take an action until something's wrong and you have to fix it because it's broken. And in science of mind, the more time we spend in it, the more we realize, no, everything is good. And spirit is creating love and more love, life and more life, abundance and more abundance. And how cool is it that I can claim all of that in my life by applying the spiritual principles? So there's a 2-level thing there. Personal work to get rid of the society story that we've all been acculturated to, and the spiritual work to expand with joy. I don't know. I'm feeling really good about that. It's like a good reminder for me. Okay, so anybody else in the room, or I'm going to add the next paragraph? Okay. So we're going to start in with the next subsection, the purpose of treatment. Okay, the first subsection is what treatment is. The second is the purpose of treatment, and we're at the bottom of page 163. Yes, I'm so glad. Mental or spiritual treatment should bring into actual manifestation the health and the happiness, which are humanity's normal and divine heritage. Repeating that sentence, please listen to every word. Mental or spiritual treatment should bring into actual manifestation the health and the happiness, which are your normal and divine heritage. It is your normal heritage. It is how you were created. It is what you were created to receive and to be and to have and to know. And so treatment brings that into actual manifestation. Such healing includes, such healing includes the emancipation of the mind from every form of bondage through a new concept of God, which causes the heart to beat with joy and gladness. This healing power is a consciousness of the unity of all life and the spiritual nature of all being. Stop. The heart to beat with joy and gladness. This healing power is a consciousness of the unity of all life, not just the unity within humanity, but the unity with all life, all forms of life, and how they interact with one another, that we in the human experience are a part of all of that. So we are a part of the stars and the sun and the moon. We are a part of the wind and the rain. We are a part of the fish in the sea. We are a part of the mountain range. We are part of it all. Even the snakes and the lizards that Tracy is terrified of. So we are part of all of it, the unity of all life. Life has been created for all of these different things to work together. And so when Ernest Holmes says, in the purpose of treatment, we are healing anything that's out of alignment with that. And such healing includes the emancipation of our minds from every form of bondage. And that happens because we teach and learn and practice a new concept of God, a different concept of God. And that concept is the concept that makes our heart beat with joy and gladness, that makes us excited to be here, that makes us know the potential of life is always moving towards something good, no matter what it looks like, no matter how it seems. And so at the top of page 164, our life is rooted in the universal and the eternal. And that life is none other than the life of God. Our life is rooted in that which is invisible and eternal and is always evolving. That's the life of God. And so the healing process, insofar as it may be termed a process, is in becoming conscious of this eternal truth and then living from that, breathing from that, thinking from that. When the house is on fire, literally or figuratively, remembering that, well, wait. The truth is, nothing can happen to me that cannot be turned into good, because I am a part of this universal and eternal truth. And so in the last paragraph in this subsection, Ernest Holmes writes at the top second paragraph on page 164, so treatment should incorporate a conscious recognition that health has always been ours. Abundance has always been ours. Happiness and peace has always been ours. They are ours now, for they are the very essence and the truth of our being. All there is of evil, or of whatever name or kind, is an inversion of eternal good. And before we got to this chapter, we've read and talked about evil in itself is not a power, it's an inversion, or it is the failure to stand in the truth or to move in a way that is out of alignment with the truth, but in itself it's not a power. So he just kind of throws that reminder in at the last sentence of this section. Key line, treatment should incorporate a, in italics, conscious recognition that health has always been ours, abundance has always been ours, happiness and peace have always been ours, they are ours now. So Tina, to your earlier question about, when things are falling apart or when there's an emergency or when I'm upset or when I'm, reacting, can I do a treatment? The reality is, if we're really doing a treatment, when we step into that, we're reminding ourselves, we're doing a conscious recognition that peace is my peace. The peace of God is my peace now, even though the house is burning around me, right? The joy of God, oh, wait, there is nothing that can get between the joy of this infinite intelligence and my joy. Nothing, right? So it's the conscious recognition. And those of us who know how to do treatment or who are doing treatment, it goes back to, yes, I know when I'm not shifting because I'm just saying the words, but there is nothing in me that actually believes them in that moment. It's not a conscious recognition. I'm trying to use the habit to convince myself. And I can do that often. And I will feel the shift and I'm ready to go. But if I can't, then I ask somebody else to do the treatment who's not caught up in the physical human experience that I am caught up in right at this moment. And there's no shame in that. Because we all experience things that can feel overwhelming. All of us, every one of us. So knowing when to go to someone else for treatment is good as well. So any comments, reactions, any questions? Or we've done treatment so much that everybody's like, got this. Oh yeah, that's good. I know how to deal with that. Any questions, any comments? Going once. Any questions, any comments? Going twice. You all online in Zoom? Any questions, any comments? Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay. So I mentioned at the top, one of the reasons I'm really excited that we're starting this chapter today is because this month at CSLDallas on Sundays during our celebration service, we are actually incorporating spiritual practice and doing spiritual practice together. Because I don't know if you're like me, I would learn to meditate, and I meditated a lot for a long time before I ever went to a group meditation. And so I went to this group meditation. I remember the very first time, and it was amazing because I was pretty good at meditating on my own for maybe 20 minutes. And I knew what it felt like. After about 20 minutes, I was starting to feel like, And then I went to this group meditation, and the energy of the group had me at that what I thought was a deep level of in like 5 minutes, because there was so much energy and everybody was going deeper. So at the end of a 30-minute meditation, I had never gone that deep. And I was like, ooh, what is this? And it was the group energy. And so this month, instead of talking about spiritual practice, we're doing it together. And today, at today's celebration service, we are going to dive into spiritual mind treatment. And what does that feel like? And how do you know? I mentioned, if I'm not feeling the shift, I'm calling Cindy, right? Or I'm texting, another person to say, you do treatment for me. So what does that feel like when the whole group is holding consciousness for your good and your good and your good and your good? And like, you can feel it, but everybody is feeling it. So we're going to be doing that today. And this intro is really critical, I think, because the way that Ernest Holmes sets us up for treatment, I'm not going to be really talking about during the celebration service. And so it's good that we have a chance this morning to actually look at that for a minute. So I'm going to highlight 4 things, and then I'm going to ask a question. So in paragraph 1 on page 163, effective mental treatment is propelled by a consciousness of love and a realization that the creative spirit is always at work. Those 2 things are foundational. It's coming from a place of love, and that the universe is always present and always here and willing and ready to support life. So support you individually, but support the betterment of life. And the last sentence in the second paragraph, treatment is effective because the law is always in operation. Never takes a vacation. Doesn't decide it'll work for Glenn, but it won't work for Patrick. It's not, it's always working and always in operation. And the purpose of treatment at the bottom of page 163. Such healing includes the emancipation of the mind from every form of bondage through a new concept of God. And I don't think we talk about that enough, that in New Thought, maybe it goes without saying, but in New Thought, we are talking about a new way to experience infinite intelligence and the unity that we have with that. So it's a new concept of God, that God is not separate from us, that God is within us, and that we are made in the spiritual image and likeness of this creator of all life, whether you call it God, the universe, love, spirit, or any other name. We're talking about this one creative power. And then the 4th thing that I would highlight is the first sentence of the second paragraph on page 164. Treatment should incorporate a conscious recognition that all these things have always been ours. All of these ideals, all of these qualities of God have always been within us, have always belonged to us. And we're the ones who have to have a conscious recognition of that. We don't have to convince God. God already put it in us, right? But we have to have a conscious recognition of it. So sometimes when people are doing treatment and they're saying pretty words, I went to Soul Science and I was surprised. I heard Ryan Brown do a treatment and it was so good, and he said this phrase and I really liked it. So Ryan, it must work for Ryan. I'm going to use it too. Well, it might work for Ryan because Ryan has a conscious recognition of what it means in life in general and in himself. But it may not work for you if you're just repeating it because it's pretty words that sounded good to you and you don't actually have your own conscious recognition of the power of spirit operating in, as, and through you. And so it is completely and totally about, when we are doing treatment, that we're coming from this conscious recognition of the power of the universe working through us. So those are the 4 things I would highlight from that. Any one really quick example of how it has worked for you? Or do you want to just make that your homework to take it in and this week look for how this is operating in your life? Okay, homework. We'll be back next week talking about treatment, and I want some examples of how treatment is working and the foundation of it, how you've been thinking about it. So Ryan, what's going on at CSL Dallas?
Oh, a whole lot is going on at CSL Dallas, and we're so glad that you're here to be a part of this community. And first and foremost, I've gotten a couple of people reaching out to us about the website. So I'll be giving you guys some updates about that here coming up in our celebration. But in the meantime, in between time, we have a class that's going to be coming up with Dr. Peter Weldis that covers the 10 universal spiritual practices and principles. And ironically, it has that long name in the title as well, too. So that's going to be coming up later on this month. And it's a great foundational course for anybody who's looking to understand the basics of the science of mind. So I highly recommend that. And that couples really well with our Membership Matters class that's going to be coming up on September 7th. For all of those who've been looky-loos here at the center, we would invite you to come and learn more about us and understand how our leadership works, understand how volunteer opportunities work here at CSL Dallas, and how you can share your gifts and talents. So make sure you join us. It's in person and online starting September 7th. And then it's followed by a beautiful ritual that we'll have on September 28th. And it's going to be during our Sunday celebration for that day. So come and join us.
Yes, yes. And thanks for joining us today for the Sunday morning Science of Mind class right here at CSL Dallas. And we'll see you back here next Sunday at 9:15-ish Central Time. Have a great week, everybody.